Hi friends, welcome to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. So today's video is going to be end of the year wrap up of our family subjects, what we thought about our family subjects, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we changed throughout the year, what we started with, what we ended with. So all those questions, I'm hoping that I can answer those questions for you today. If you see me looking down, I actually have my computer on my lap. It's where I have my year overview so I can take a look at what my plans were and see how things went throughout the year and what we ended up changing. So this video is part 2 of a mini series that I'm doing, the end of the year reflections, reviews, and all that. So I have already put up my overall end of the year reflections about our schedule and just how our year went. So if you're interested in seeing that video, I'll just link that here. And I'll also be making a playlist with all these videos in there. So if you want to see all of our end of the year stuff, it'll be easy to watch those that way. Also, don't forget to like if you like videos like this, and subscribe if you want to see the future videos that I'm going to put up. I'm going to be talking about my children's independent subjects and what we did and what we changed. And I'm going to be talking about our third term morning basket, what we had in it, and how things went there. All right, so first of all, let's talk about geography. So if you've been around, you will know that we have been doing My Father's World, exploring countries and cultures. And if you want to see the flip through and review of that, I will link that here. But we have been doing that for 2 years. My friend lent me her whole set, so I had all of it there. So we have been doing both the geography portion of that and some of the science of that. So half of the science of that. And this is our second year working through that. So we did get through almost half of it last year. And I would say we got through about half of it this year. We are not entirely finished yet, but I just had to stop at some point. So we're in Canada right now, and we did not do it in order. We jumped around from country to country. I based what countries we visited based on our history and what we're studying in history. So now we're in Canada, and that is our final country for this year. I am going to start off next year with our final destination, which is going to be Australia, and we're going to talk about New Zealand, and we will touch on Antarctica. That's the final piece of this My Father's World, exploring countries and cultures. And we have been doing it for 2 years, and we are going to finish it next year. So I think that tells you enough maybe about this curriculum. We really did enjoy it enough to try to finish it all completely. That being said, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if that was what we were doing. If that is all we were doing and we didn't have another history and another science going. So I really liked that we did it over these 2 and a bit years. I think that was perfect. I like to do kind of a loop schedule where I have several subjects for our group subjects, and I don't like to do the same subjects every day. And I loved this curriculum as part of that loop. So if you're considering doing that with your children and you feel like you would be okay with just studying other countries and cultures for the whole year, then this might be for you. You might want to consider, if you like to have a variety of things happening, you might want to consider trying what we did and just doing it over 2 years as part of your group subjects, and just something you do maybe twice a week instead of 4 or 5 times a week. So that worked out really well for us. As for the science portion of that, we really enjoyed this. I know you've seen it several times. The Usborne Living World Encyclopedia. We really liked that. We did all the portions of this, and what I would do is I would just read 2 pages here, read 2 pages whenever we hit it, and then I'd photocopy 2 of the pages, and my kids would do some copy work out of this. So they would choose, like some of my kids would copy 2 sentences, and some would copy 3, just the most interesting parts of that. So we really enjoyed that, and we did that for 2 years. Now we did drop the animals I think it's Animals and Ecosystems. I think it's a God's Design series. We did drop that. That was too textbooky for us. So we just took that out because we have other science. And so we don't really need to do that as well. But we did enjoy this part of My Father's World science. Along with that, we also did like the We Sing songs, the cultural songs. We played the geography game. You've heard me talk about that many times. It was my children's favorite part of the geography. So we played the game. We've learned a lot of countries. We know where a lot of countries are now. So that has been really good. I do recommend My Father's World, Exploring Countries and Cultures. Great, great curriculum. So let's go into history and what we've done for history. Now, you're going to notice a trend. If you've been around here for a while, you know that we are working on our second year of Sonlight B+C Condensed. So we did the same thing with this. I wouldn't say we took the full 2 years because we are pretty much finishing it. And as we're finishing it, we're adding in some other things. And honestly, I might have a few things to read in the next year with the Sonlight level, but I just mish and mash things. So we're still working on it, but we're mostly done and we have started some new things. So Sonlight B+C, we started 2 years ago. We are still working on it somewhat. And I really have enjoyed Sonlight. I would recommend Sonlight to new homeschoolers. I actually do all the time in Facebook groups. I really like Sonlight. I like the Bible. I like the reading. I like the CDs that we get with the songs. We are using that interspersed with other Bible programs that I throw in here and there. So, I mean, you might notice a trend here. I can't just stick to one thing forever, but I do really like to finish things that I really enjoy. So it might take me longer, but I do get to it. So I do like the Bible in Sonlight. I think that's really good. I love the readers. The readers have been great. We love the readers. And the history. So the only thing about the history. So the history has you, I like the history, but I really feel like I like to add some more living books to the history. So in general, for the history, you're reading out of like a children's encyclopedia. So there's that, so you read a few pages there, which is fine, but I don't feel like that's a whole lot of living history. So we have that, and then once in a while you're reading a book or more of a living text or a living book. So that is good. I really, really liked the time traveler one. I felt like a little more of a living text. So I really enjoyed the time traveler in Sonlight B+C, and the Usborne Encyclopedia of History. That was good too, but it's things to read and pictures. What I really, really thought brought our history together, which is not part of Sonlight, is Story of the World. I really enjoyed the audiobooks of Story of the World. So we don't do any of the activities in Story of the World. I have access to the activity sheets and all that. We don't do that. All we do is we borrow the audiobooks and we listen to them in the car. And I try to keep it lined up with our Sonlight. And I just feel like having those audiobooks on top of Sonlight just brings Sonlight history to life, just brings history to life, just adds that story narrative element to our history that I really, really love. So that has been a good combo. I know that in future years in G and H, Story of the World will become the spine of Sonlight. So I'm not sure what we'll do when we hit that time, but I do not regret adding Story of the World audiobooks to our history at this time. So another thing that I have added to our history that we have been doing as we get to those points of history. So towards the end of our Sonlight B+C, because that is a world history. So towards the end of it, I've been adding in Beautiful Feet, primary early American history. So the primary level of early American history. And that is a little below the ages of my kids, but I will say I have not regretted that either. The picture books are great. I do not think that they are too young for my kids who are currently in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And we will be doing most of that next year. So we have just started the beginning of that. So we've gone through the Vikings, we've gone through the explorers, we're going through the settlers and the colonies right now. So I have really enjoyed adding that piece as well, and that just adds more living books to what we're studying. So far, that's what I'm thinking of that curriculum. So that is our history curriculum. Now for science. Our main science this year was Noeo Biology 2, and I would say I have mixed feelings about that. My kids really did enjoy the activities that were in Noeo, and the reason why I picked Noeo Science was I did not want a lot of worksheets for science, and I didn't want a lot of experiments for science, and I didn't want a lot to do for science. So I picked it because I really liked the books, and I didn't feel like there was going to be a ton of experiments. So some of the things I would say we liked and loved about Noeo, and some I didn't love as much. So the things that I didn't love as much about Noeo was honestly the books that we have been using primarily. Well, these are the ones we've used to this point. The first book that you go through is this one here. And so we read a few parts of this, but I feel like it's just kind of wordy, and it was okay. Like reading these, yeah, it was okay. I didn't really love it. The other book that we use on and off is this one, the Usborne Science Encyclopedia. And let me just take a look here. So, I mean, this is what it's like. So it's an encyclopedia. It has pictures, it has some words. It's not super easy, I would say, to read out loud. It's okay. It's okay. And then the final book that my kids have enjoyed more is this book here, Smithsonian Animals, a Visual Encyclopedia. I do find that I did have to skip quite a lot. I would read most of these areas, but I did not read all the facts about each animal. And I think we're supposed to read about 4 pages a day in that, and that could be hard at times. So I don't know, I feel like the books were less living than I would like, and it was just reading encyclopedias, which is not super, I don't feel like we learn a whole lot when I read it, but we have been following this, and I guess we have learned some things with it. Now, at the very beginning of the year, along with this book here, my kids did some things with microscopes, and they really did enjoy those microscope activities. And we would draw what we saw, and we write a few things about what we saw. So they enjoyed that. And then we also had an experiment kit about eggs, and we did all those experiments, and we did enjoy that as well. And the last thing that we've been doing as we've been going through this animal book is the animal reports. So here is our animal reports binder, and I did do a video on this. If you haven't seen it yet, I will link it above. But basically my kids have been choosing an animal out of each section of when we study the animal, that type, the species, then they've been picking an animal to do some research on and write about, and they have actually really enjoyed this, and I would say more than any other writing project that we've done in our homeschool. So that was a really great way to get my kids to write. So Noeo Science, we liked the activities. I didn't love the books that we were reading. There is another book, it's The Human Body, and that's more of an activity book where you cut out things. We're actually going to be using that in our next year as part of our Anatomy Junior by Guest Hollow. That is actually a book that they use, so we're just going to be using that next year. And I can't say I finished Noeo Science. We have, I think we're about 2/3 of the way through our Noeo Science. And I do plan on starting with Noeo Science next year because I know I'm going to start school before I'm going to get my new materials from our parent partnership program. So there are about 5 weeks worth of Noeo Science that we're going to continue on in the upcoming school year. And finally, as a supplement to Noeo Science, we have been listening to the audiobook of Sassafras Zoology 1 and just the audiobook. So it's a story, it's 18 chapters. And honestly, we were just listening to the last chapter today. We are not quite done. We have about 8 minutes left in that audiobook. So it has taken us all year just listening to it during some of our lunches. And my kids have enjoyed that story. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as a full science curriculum. I would say it might be better for kind of a 3rd and 4th grader, let's say. Not too young, but not too old. And anyways, if you want to see my flip through of Sassafras, I will link that here, and you can take a look at what it looks like and what kinds of activities it would have. So I don't think that I would love it as our primary science. It was fine as a supplement, and I won't be continuing with Sassafras Science in the future. All right, so that covers our group subjects for this year and how we feel about them now at the end of our school year, if we're continuing with it or not. I hope this information is helpful for you in making your decisions for the upcoming school year. If you have any questions on any of these curriculum, do leave it in the comments below. And I would love to hear how your school year went. How are your group subjects? Did you enjoy your group subjects? What did you do? Thank you so much for coming today, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope to see you in my next video. Goodbye, everyone.